So I'll open up the mic right off the bat. Any wins to share?
I have a StreetText appointment this afternoon, 2:00.
Awesome. So how did that come about?
Buyer lead who we have nurtured got set up on a search campaign. The first time we called, they said, yep, we've already seen a house we like. We want to go see it. So we're going out today. First meeting. Yep.
So when did they come in? Like recently, or was it?
I'll tell you exactly when they came in. I've got it up in front of me. The date they came in was October the 27th, and we just got a hold of them. The call was, let me tell you, it was a day or two. Actually, it was the end of last week is when it was, but I got a hold of them. It was pretty fresh after they came in.
Cool.
Yep.
So was there a speed to lead component there for you in getting in touch with them?
Yeah, we got a hold of them originally, got the search set up, and then called them back. And I was checking in on the search. I always like to check back in to find out, do we need to make any changes or updates to the houses we're sending you to offer them service? And she said, by the way, I see one I like, and I'd like to go visit it face to face. So this will be our first time meeting in person.
Yeah, that's awesome. And was it that downsizing ad that you're running?
Yes, it is. It's the one for ranch homes. Absolutely. And that one's producing. My costs have gone up a little bit, but I think it's because of the nature of the time of the year that we're at. And I think people are trying to buy leads right now. So the cost has gone up. I'm still content. It's still $475 a lead. And, you know, I don't know that one's going to be cheaper than that for doing the same thing.
Yeah. And that's something to be aware of as we head into the holiday season. Like, this is the attention economy. So people's attention is on social media. So if you're in any business, you're trying to get in front of people during this shopping season, which means people in your market are competing for the same space on Facebook. So just be aware that there's ebbs and flows and costs in Facebook ads. So typically when advertising increases as a whole, your costs will go up. And it's just part and parcel of doing business amongst everyone else that's marketing and trying to get people's attention.
Ira, here's a question for you, a thought. The 2 ads that I disabled for my 3 test for this, should I try to re-enable them and see if they'll give me a lower cost lead, since those have not been run to that audience in a while? Is that something that you guys recommend?
It's kind of like the split test will just start again on those ads. And because you already have stats on them, it's going to be hard to measure what is new on that ad, because it'll be pulling in the old stats, so it'll be hard to figure it out. So it's better to run another split test, but at your cost, I would just leave it. I wouldn't
suck it up. It's holidays. That's what I thought it was. That's what I figured. I figured, you know, we're just going to pay more this time of year than before. Yeah. That's why it was my question for today. That's what I wanted to ask one of the geniuses. Thank you.
No problem. And some people are on here as like, send me all the $4 leads, right, Jeff? Jeff in California is like, send me the $4 leads. I'll take them all day long.
Give me your price point and I'll trade you my lead.
Yeah, exactly, right? Let's convert more perspective. So anybody else on here have some shares and some wins that they want to share with the group? It could be anything. You got to learn to celebrate the small things. So it could be,
hey, I have two. Yes, it's been 3 months, I think, since I've been back. So I have one lady that I did an online evaluation with, and then they wanted something with privacy. And then she goes, you know what, my husband doesn't want to move. And then she called me back, and now we're looking at properties. So we are working together. And then the other one is I did an online valuation, and he called me to come see it when he's done renovating it. So hopefully that'll be this week or next. So those are my 2 wins since I've been back.
That's awesome. And as everybody wants to know, so they came through like what ad and at what time?
Seller evaluation lead. That's all I'm doing, plus the 12 things you need to know. But the seller evaluation lead are the 2, those are directly from that one.
Okay. So how long ago did they come in? When was your first conversation with them?
Oh, I don't have it open, but probably the second one about coming when he's renovating, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 10 days. So this is and the other one about a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did they respond to initially? Like when it's a month later, because I think that's the part that some of us get stuck in, is when they don't respond right away, we think all is lost.
Right.
And then it's like we get this response like a month later, or we get it to some random email. So it's like the power of that nurture. So what did they respond to after about a month?
Well, first I do the email, and then I follow it up with a letter. So both of them responded by the email, probably in about 2 days. The first one was a day later. But I don't think I've had a month later yet. So I'm still trying to work on how to best nurture the long term without being too aggressive.
I'm a kick in. I'll tell you what's funny about the renovation thing. I had some people that said the same thing because I was out in the area, quick video thing, and then I sent them out directly to been sold. So I said, hey, just want to give you a snapshot so you can see what's going on. And then I threw them in the home box. So when you say the soft touch, now you've got the monthly nurture going and you won't forget.
Right.
And now you're touching on them. And then you said you just came back. So the question is, and this goes to the whole group, who all is working for all leads or go back over it? Because when I had left StreetText from and came back, I still had the database. And so the StreetText mentality was, I still need to touch. So the old leads are the best leads because they're the ones closest to selling is what I tell people.
Right. I think I got that. It's a little broken for me anyway.
Yeah, it was cutting out a little bit, but we got the gist of like when Leon said he was coming back, the old leads are the best leads. So like,
yeah, because I said they're closest to selling because no one gets out of bed going, I'm selling today. So
yeah, that's right.
You know, finding with those, and like I said, anybody that tells me they're going to do something, I just send them a quick snapshot. I always like to say, beware of not getting unsubscribed. But once I get them in a home bot, that monthly touch, the automation's going already in that way. I got a listing last week because of that. Just hitting the old stuff, sending it out, and I've been attacking the Zillow thing. So one of the good things now is I'm actually going to cut back on my ad spend right after Thanksgiving because, you know, like I said, all the big companies are going to be blasting all this stuff out there. And rather than just kill myself on ad costs, I'm going to concentrate more on the follow-up and maybe retargeting as well.
Jeff, I saw you had unmuted yourself.
Yeah, clearly we're doing something wrong. I listed a StreetText lead yesterday, but it had come after nurturing for over almost a year. I looked back at our records and it was actually the 19th touch that prompted their call. So God bless all you guys that are converting these guys in the first or second touch. I'd love to know how to be able to do that. But I mean, just kind of piggybacking on what Leon said is, you know, the longer you nurture these things, the riper they are and the more low-hanging fruit they become. So that's been our experience anyway, is we haven't listed a StreetText lead that has been with us for anywhere less than 6 months. So again, it really becomes a function of nurturing before they ultimately feel they have a strong enough relationship to pick up the phone and call you.
Jeff, here's an encouragement for you. I've got a lead that I'm meeting with next week that came into my system in 2015. I've stayed in touch with them. We had a listing appointment for evaluation for their home. They're still not selling their home. Mom and dad have died, and she's trying to get me in front of the sisters to be their agent simply because I've maintained touch with her through all these years and have called over and over, giving her market updates. And because I've stayed kind to her and never pushed her to sell, I'll have another deal coming. And that's just because I stayed on top of it.
Yeah, no, that's what it's all about, Campbell. I mean, when I went in, I understood that I was competing. There's a number of people that farm this neighborhood, but these people didn't bother to contact them because it was more a hard sell on their part, on the farmer's part, than it was on the nurturing part from my CRM.
Yeah. One of the things that I'll tell my clients when I'm working with them, and I get them into the pipeline, I go, before I get off the phone, I go, hey, I'm going to keep you up to date with what's going on in the market. I know you don't want to sell now, but I know you want to know what your home's worth. I'll call you a couple, 3 or 4 times a year just to let you know what the market's doing. If I don't catch you, I'll leave you a voicemail just so you know. And most of the time, I'll be honest, I don't think she's picked up the phone probably more than twice in that whole entire time frame. But because I've left the voicemails and she knows I'm a man of my word, as soon as the parents died and they needed to sell, she reached out to me because I was the one who she trusts because I've done what I said I was going to do.
I always like to say, like, who here likes referrals, right? I mean, 2 hands up for everybody, right? But how do you get more referrals? You get more clients in your database. That's
Yep.
just that's the way it is. Like, the people who are referring you aren't referring you for no reason. They're referring you because they liked you for a reason. They liked your service. They liked the way that you acted. They liked the way that you treated them. So if you go in and somebody says, you know what, I'm not that serious. I'm just curious. I'm not actually going to sell this home anytime soon. Okay, well, call me when you're serious. How well is that going to go, right? They're not going to call you when they're serious, but also you've lost the opportunity to build rapport and build a relationship, get to know them, let them get to know you. That's the most important thing in this industry, obviously, is, continuously adding to your database, continuously adding value to their lives, adding something, being a resource for them, even if they never use you. That's fine. You're their resource. Who are they going to refer when somebody else that they know is looking for, the similar resource? Just continuously add to that database, and referrals kind of come around that. And, somebody who's not ready to sell their home, maybe they're 18 months away. Great. Well, I've got 16 months, 15 months to develop a relationship, to kind of get myself in front of them for when they are ready. And that time period, how many referrals do I have an opportunity to get? Right. So that's something that we really like to see. And yeah, it's a longer term play. There are people obviously that are going to get deals in their first, week or so. And I'm sure Jeff and to some of the other people who've been doing it a long time, it's frustrating to hear sometimes, but at the same time, it is going to happen. You're going to get those at times, but it is a longer term solution. It's one of those things that the longer you do it, the more people you're bringing in, the more conversations you're having, the more closings you'll have. Right.
I'll share another phenomenon with you. I have had at least 8 StreetText leads so far who are already in my database through another source. At least 8 that came in from my ads I've done on StreetText were already in my database who I'd already been working. And they changed what they were looking for, so we touched them another way.
I actually had one not that long ago. One of my clients sold. They got their first listing. It was about 8 or 9 days into using StreetText. That person wasn't their neighbor, but it was an ex-neighbor. It was somebody that they had built and generated a good relationship with long ago. And they knew that this individual, was habitually moving all over the place, but they had never used them to buy or sell homes before. It just so happens that they came in through a StreetText ad. They sparked the conversation. So I got the old, oh, you guys can't take credit for that. We don't want credit for that. We're not trying to do this for that reason. We're trying to help you guys, close more deals. But it's just one of those things. Again, it's the more avenues you have, the more touches that you can put on people, so to speak, the more places they're seeing you. Again, the more visible you are, the more trustworthy you become. So, multiple services, do this, do that. But again, just make sure that you have drip campaigns, make sure that you have ways to stay in front of these people. Facebook ads, it's a daily billboard, right? If you could put up a billboard somewhere for $9 a day, I think you'd do it, right? So it's one of those things. Put up ads, just keep things going.
Yeah. Hey, and Logan, we just spent 3 or 4 days last week not recreating, but extending our action plans and our automations, because for the most part, most of them were 6 to 8 months. And it just seemed a lot smarter to start to extend these things to a minimum of a year, if not longer. It's tough coming up with enough content and value with that many touches, but I think it's important so you're not having to keep recreating your action plans or your touches that are going out.
Yeah, and the timeline, I like piggybacking on what Campbell said earlier there, I'm reading a book, The 4 Agreements, and the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. So like people see that consistency, and consistency builds trust. So if you keep dripping on them, my real estate agent, I sold my house in Ontario, moved to Kelowna, BC 11 years ago. I was at the same address when I moved here for 8 years. I was still getting mailers from her at my new address in BC from her, because probably in her head, she's like, I've been in this business long enough. People move with big dreams. Sometimes they move back. Sometimes it doesn't work out. So it's like, kudos to her. I'm still on her email list. Like, it's like, I'm not moving back to Ontario. I mean, I've told my mama's very disappointed, but I'm here to stay on the West Coast. But I sent her a little like thumbs up. I'm like, your follow-up, like 12 years later, I mean, impeccable. She just has me in a system that keeps dripping on me. And I keep remembering her. And how often do we forget about people who we've already added value to? We're just on to the new shiny thing, the new shiny person, the new shiny buyer, the new shiny seller. It's like, you have a database of people that you've already serviced. So how do you stay in the know? Because people will we're forgetful creatures as human. Like, we get onto the new shiny things. You just always got to stay in front of people. You know, I was talking to Emily here on the call in Colorado, and she loves doing like land parcels and stuff. I said, when you get a buyer that has a very specific need, they have so many unanswered questions. There's so much value in being able to put together emails where you start answering questions about what it's like to buy a land or what it's like to do this. There's so much content that you could make, like little tidbit that they're going to be searching for on YouTube. And if you're just delivering it to their inbox about like things that they need to know and small little tidbits that they need to know it, they're going to be grateful for that content over time, even if they might be making that move 2 years from now. So it's really just putting together some automation so you're in a bunch of different places while you're doing different things during the day. So that stuff and that value is going out.
Hey, Logan, I'm a how do you say it? I'm a respectfully agree to disagree with something you said. You know, a lead doesn't have to come from StreetText, but it's StreetText isms. If people in the group take a minute to look back at what they were doing habit-wise and business-wise before they joined StreetText, and look at what they're doing now. You know, we sit there and last week I was laughing Jeff and his rip off and duplicate. You know, this week I put 20 something leads from sales over the last 2 years into HomeBot, because just the things you pick up, you know, you set a everybody has checklists of different sorts of way they do things. But when you hear people complaining, and I'm not saying in a bad way, but when you hear people complaining about business or lack of business, it's like they're not realizing the Christmas bag of business they already have. And I always say, why are you chasing new leads if you're not working your old? So you expand it outside just StreetText and take all your other stuff. I don't care if it's a deal you didn't close. If you got a name, you got an email, you got a contact, you have a business opportunity. So the only bad lead is the one you don't try to work. So when it comes to StreetText, like I said, even though I'm, you know, I see people in the group all the time saying, oh, I'm just so overwhelmed, I'm turning off my leads for a minute, this and that. We always tell them turn them back. The bottom line is, when you sit there and go back and do an assessment of how you're doing business, we are at the end of the year. And I told people back in August, September, if you weren't starting your end of year roll, you're already behind. So it's still not too late to roll into next year strong from this year. But what you do is take things from this group and roll it into something else. Just as far as the masterminds, what's in the group, HomeBot, other things at HomeBeat, anything in there. We've got things we took out of here. The only crime is not to use what you have. And at that point, it's not a dollar cost. The value is your time that you put in it to get the return. So even if it's not a StreetText lead, it doesn't matter. It's a StreetText-ism is what I call it. And you still apply it because you're still looking for the same end result from your actions. And that's the key thing to remember here. You got a gold mine, but it doesn't do no good if you don't scrape the dirt to get to it.
I think I had a client of mine tell me recently, you can't, what was it? You can't dig for diamonds with a plastic shovel. That was the way he put it, was, you know, it can be hard work, and it needs to be consistent work. You have to constantly be digging, and you never know. And I've got a graphic I like to show. It shows, you know, two different guys going for the same, you know, gemstones kind of at the end. And one has got his pitch, his axe over his shoulder walking back, and he was this far to it. So, you know, the one thing I really wanted to quickly also say that it's something I've been seeing a lot, especially with some of our newer clients, is people coming in and deleting leads that maybe just said I wasn't quite ready, or for whatever reason they couldn't contact them, they left a voicemail and they didn't get back to them within a week, so they're deleting leads. And it's the worst thing to do, and I discourage it. If somebody's, and we said this on last week's mastermind, if somebody's rude, if they're screaming and yelling and swearing at you, I don't care if they're ever going to sell a home with me. They're not going to sell a home with me. I'm not going to help them sell their home. That's just, we don't need that in our careers. But unless they are screaming and yelling and swearing at you, telling you to stop contacting them, leave them in there and just leave yourself a note. Rang their voicemail. I've done this, I've done that. They told me they weren't ready. They told me they were just curious, whatever it might be. Because again, kind of you're saying with your, multiple sources and stuff like that, there's an opportunity. You might see them come through another source. Hey, that was the guy who told me he wasn't serious 3 months ago. Well, I'm pretty sure that's the same individual. Come through, search their name, and sure enough, you see your note. They told me they weren't serious 3 months ago. Well, this is a good opportunity to reach back to them, obviously, right? But constantly have that database, have the list of individuals. You paid for them. Why delete them? That's the way I look at them. Again, if they're being rude to you, delete them. Next button, move on. That's fine. But otherwise, don't delete those leads from your account.
I just delete wrong emails, bounced emails, or a realtor checking it out.
Realtors, I like to definitely make sure they've been removed from automation. I might also leave them in there and just say realtor. It kind of gives me a little reminder that who's checking me out and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe you're going to build a team and look to do some recruiting down the road. Right? Maybe you're moving to EXP and you want to bring some agents with you and increase your downstream. There's lots of different reasons to keep different people. Once I've discovered the information on them that I now know, I make sure I note it and I'll bold it so that whenever I'm going back through things, I know who's who and what's what. You paid for that information, you might as well hold on to it. That's my view. Again, unless they're the kind of clients you don't want to deal with, and then see you later.
Yeah, that reminds me of it's like, come follow me. Like, did you like that? Was that cool? Come over here and I'll show you exactly what we're doing. So there's something that Leon said there, which I think is really cool. And it reminds me of Michael Jr., the comedian, because he talks about in comedy, sometimes it's like comedy like life. You've got the two parts of the joke. You have the setup and then you have the punchline. And the setup is kind of all about us. It's our story, it's our whatever. And he's like, too often people kind of get so focused on the setup and they forget that they actually have already got the setup. And so they leave the punchline out, but the punchline is the give to the audience. It's the thing that surprises people. And Leon was saying, like, where the quote that came to mind is like, people aren't thankful for what they have, aren't likely to be thankful for what they're about to get. And it seems like out of abundance flows more. And so in business, we already have more than enough opportunity. We already have a huge database, just our network and our, in itself, the leads that we've already generated, the people that we've got along the way, old sphere, old past clients, you name it. We already have all of this abundance of stuff that's right in front of us. And if we just focus on those things, and there's going to be so much more, a wellspring that will come out of there as a result. And on that note, I just want to share a couple things, out of abundance. There's abundance of really like new things that are coming out in social right now. It seems like the momentum is high for updates. So maybe you guys have all seen this, but I just want to share some of the different things that are out there that are totally available and free. Number one, most surprising, LinkedIn right now, it's not it's an interesting channel, but what I like about it is whenever you can do something once, but you can do it in multiple places, I'm a big fan. You're just leveraging your time. You're making your time go much further. And LinkedIn has just announced that if you have at least 1,000 followers on your LinkedIn profile, you can now send those followers newsletters, and they're getting really, really high engagement rates. So like literally as of November, that's now a thing. And so if you're sending a newsletter to your database, drop it in LinkedIn now. Like just send your newsletter to LinkedIn. I think that's like such a simple hack that's available to everybody. The other one that's just come out as a new update is Facebook Reels, or Instagram Reels has now come out to Facebook. And so Facebook is really trying to make themselves more video oriented. And there's a few things, if you guys aren't already familiar with Reels, or if you're using it, there's a couple things I'm just going to share a real quick, like list of how you can make those Reels really effective. You know, we talk about video all the time, bomb, you name it. We don't, like, whatever tool you use, we don't mind. And Reels is just another form of video. You can get out there, you can put stuff up, they can do your home values, you name it. It's just a really good way of getting your, you know, it's free. So make sure you post. This is directly from Facebook themselves. They're saying Reels that will get views are Reels that are entertaining and fun. You know, it delights people, grabs their attention, they're inspiring. They use, you know, creative tools like camera effects, filters, those kinds of things. You can even just imagine like showing the globe and then like zooming into your market. That's obviously like something that's really a good idea. Using music from Instagram's music library. So they actually have free music that's fully available to you to use, you know, and are experimental. On the flip side, they're saying that they will not be like, you won't get a ton of exposure on your videos if they're blurry due to low resolution. If they're like visibly recycled from other apps, means it contains logos or watermarks, stuff like that, they're gonna just like not show them. And if they're uploaded with a border around, or if there's too much text. So that's kind of like a big deal. The other update that I think is really worth mentioning that's coming out here, it'd be really interesting to see what it means to the Facebook ads next week, is Facebook is updating their tracking algorithm. And literally this week, next week, and the week after, we're going to see that update come out of Facebook. It hasn't hit the shelves yet, but it's on its way. And I think this could be really big for advertising on Facebook in general. I just don't really know what that's going to look like. So I wanted to give you guys a few just quick tidbits of what's happening out there in the space. And there's more. I mean, there's, you can, if you do Instagram, you can now do stickers, which is cool. So you can now do like links right in your posts back to you. So there's just a whole lot of stuff out there that's coming out in the social sphere as well. Dan, I see your hands up.
Yes. Hey, how are you guys? Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, I'm a new guy here around the block. I just signed up for my trial a few days back. And I ran one of those 2 free ads that we have access to. My question to the Mastermind group, and I had a chance to speak to Troy as well a couple of times, but my question to the Mastermind group is, I ran these 2 ads, 3, what is it called? The 3 ads that we run, split test. So I did split test for each type, buyer and seller, and I did not get any success. So I was advised that I should maybe turn it off and try again to do another split test and see if I can get any winner from that. So as a new agent or new customer to StreetText, I feel like it's a more Facebook issue than StreetText issue. And my question is, how long it took you guys to see some real results from running your own ads from split test?
I'll jump in real quick, and then if anybody else has anything that they want to share, please do. The way that I usually put this is that, and for anybody who's been with us before, I'm sure you've heard me say this many, many times, bad ads don't get good ads fluctuate. So if it's not necessarily a StreetText issue, nor is it a Facebook issue, it's just the way that these ads work. Anytime you run an ad on Facebook, that ad has a chance to succeed or fail every single time, and every single ad's unique. So if you've run an ad and you spent, let's say between $10 and $15 on an ad and it hasn't brought in any leads, turn it off. Does that mean that ad type won't work? Absolutely not. That particular ad didn't land. It didn't hit the right audience. It didn't move forward. So don't move forward with it. It's best to turn off an ad that's not working early on, and then, again, even replace with the exact same ad, and hopefully you hit the right audience. Because again, every single ad, even if it looks the same, sounds the same, feels the same, it's its own unique ad, and every ad stands on itself and has a chance to win or fail. So I would just, if anybody else has anything they'd like to add as to what they've seen, but this is something that we typically advise people right on early on, is simply If your ad isn't working, we'll help you set caps in certain areas where the median price point's much lower. Well, that cap's going to be lower. In places where the median's higher, well, your cap's going to be a little bit higher, but then we're going to say, okay, we're expecting, $8 emails, $10 emails, $15 emails, whatever it is. And if you're not seeing that within the first, say, 48 hours of running an ad, turn it off and start again. But you'll have to kind of oftentimes test and test and test until you find what works. Once you find the one that's working, lock it in and you're good for quite some time. And again, I'm sure most on this call will attest to that, but I'll let whoever else wants to talk on that. Go ahead and please do.
I just peeked at it quickly, Dan. The buyer's ad, it didn't run long enough. It's only spent about $5 each on the buyer's ad. You really got to give Facebook that 24 to 48 hours to really collect the data. 2, you're in Mississauga, which is a pretty competitive area. Lots of people competing for the space. And then 3, when it comes to your buyer's ad, think about your avatar. Sometimes what happens is you think about all the customers you could serve. So your buyer's ad is trying to capture everybody, but you're trying to speak to a specific person on Facebook. So making your buyer ad not so I think it's just single homes in Mississauga, making your buyer ad more specific as to what type of home and a price point, some sort of amenity on it. So you're speaking to an actual person. We don't want to go too specific because we do want to overwhelm them with the results a little bit. But I would try split testing the buyer's ad again, letting it run longer and just changing the amenities on that. But we can totally help that with you. Brandon can help you with that. And for everybody on here, keep learning about how running the ads. Troy does a class every single day about ad reviews. You can find it right in your dashboard. When you click classes, there's an ad review class. So just learning the basics and the foundation behind how to get good results. The advantage we have is we see it all day, every day in everyone's account. So we know what's working because we see it. So utilize us as a resource.
Yeah. Hey, Ira, I have a recently formed friendship with an individual who works for Facebook. He's a marketing expert, but he tells me stuff off the record. I spent probably 2 hours with him this weekend. And one of the things he mentioned to me is when you run an ad through Ads Manager, which I believe what you guys are doing, right? When you're linking through, he says 72 hours. He goes, it's going to take 72 hours to take, whereas before originally it was sort of 24, then 48. He's saying based on the algorithm now, it's going to take 72 hours to know if it's performing or not. He goes, if you're not giving it 72 hours, you're cutting it short. They may or may not be successful, but you got to give it the 72 hours.
Yeah, our dev team has been saying the same thing, that the stats coming back from Facebook have a prolonged window on them in comparison to the past. So sometimes when you have one ad that's just done absolutely nothing, but you have 2 and they're competing for, and they look like they might do something, leaving them on for another day or another day after that. We're so quick to turn things off if we don't see anything, but Facebook's still working to find out how the ad's going to fall. So our dev team would concur. I know Adam's we don't get enough data until that, at least that 24-hour mark. And then now it's more 48 to 72 hours. So running your tests a little bit longer to let Facebook collect that data is very important for sure.
And that's why we like the 3 ad split test though, because kind of like Ira is just saying there, if you've got 3 ads going and they're still, let's say they're running for 24 hours and one of them has brought in 5 or 6 leads, the other 2 haven't brought in anything. Well, I don't necessarily need to let them go for 72 hours to find a winner. I've already found one that's proving to be what I'm looking for. And after that 24-hour mark and it's brought in enough leads, theoretically and typically, again, that will continue to do what it needs to do. So if you have 2 ads that are still close, maybe you turn off the one that hasn't brought in any leads and you let the 2 with 1 or 2 leads each duke it out for that full 72 hours. But that's why we like to do the 3 ad split test. So Levi, you've had your hand up for an awful long time. So if you want to go ahead and
thank you.
Yeah, no
I just had a quick question. I'm a new agent and I'm looking for a CMR software to start putting all my data in. Any suggestions?
How big is your database?
Right now, I don't even know, to tell you the truth, because I haven't started doing much.
Because he doesn't have a CRM.
You know what though? Good answer. before you sit here, one of the problems in real estate, and I'm just gonna say real estate because that's what we do,
Yep.
is everybody's always trying to upsell you to what you don't need instead of letting you grow into things. So initially what I would do as a recommendation is I would go find a free CRM, HubSpot, Monday.com, couple of those, go get that. The bottom line is don't get it if you're not going to use it.
Yeah.
And basically a CRM is a place what I call to gather your thoughts. So go build your database up in one of those and then still shop around. You get everybody in the group using different things like Wendy's Follow-Up Boss. I've got Lion Desk. You've got people using Brevity. Janky uses Chime. So what you can do is just kind of follow the group, see what's there. Balling on a budget means doing what you can afford. But once you build your database up in the CRM, just make sure whatever one you use allows you to export your data. So that when you finally settle on what you're going to do, all you're going to do is jump that list right into whatever else it is and get running with it. But the best CRM is the one you'll use. Free 99 is best if it ain't costing you nothing, but you got to make sure that if you're going to put them in there, use it. Marcus always says use Facebook, but I don't Facebook stalk. So my thing is, even in StreetText, you can use that as a semi CRM. But the thing is, if you've got all your other data, all your other leads to put in one spot, go get HubSpot or Monday.com or something like that and just build your list while you're shopping.
Yeah, that is really good advice. I was even going to say Google Drive. Just get Google Docs, get a spreadsheet, put every name that you have in your friends and family right now, and like order them from people that are closest to you, and start just by reaching out and asking them, like just let them know you're in real estate and that you're really excited, and ask them if they know anybody that who's going to be thinking about buying or selling in the near future. And that's it. And just tell them if they have a conversation, just to share, like just to mention that you're in this business now. So that's just a really, really like easy way to get started, and it's free, it's cheap. You can probably do that with HubSpot, but just really focus on like, who do you know today, and then go wider as you kind of expand from there. So then it's like, okay, who are you haven't talked to in about a year or two, and then who haven't you talked to in like 5 years, and just keep going.
Cool. Thank you.
Mary Taylor, you had your hand up.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I had a question. I had just spoke to a StreetText lead that was a widow, and she was going to downsize, and it gave me an idea to try to target like downsizing. Or so is there a way like we could do like targeting different age groups, changing the age groups?
You can't target age groups when it comes to the special housing ad category. You do have to kind of let the Facebook algorithm do what it's going to do. But again, it comes down to imagery and offer. Now, if I'm going after a particular location, I'm going to use imagery that's less inclusive to my 15 miles, 25 kilometers, and more specific to, what the people I want to see, who I want to stop their scroll. That's what I'm going to do. So I might use then imagery that's more relatable to somebody in that change of life. It's actually funny you mentioned that. If anybody wants to come to the custom ads class later on today after this meeting, one of the things I'm going to be showing is a new ad that I came up with that is basically an upgrade downsize. I'm sure we've got a couple of people on this call who are currently running it, and so far the results have been really good, but that's the general idea, is talking to people, not necessarily, widows or widowers or anything like that, but just more the individuals without using negative terminology such as empty nesters. Again, that's kind of my feeling on it, is when we say empty nester, there's this negative kind of feeling that comes along with it. You're losing something, you're missing your kids, you're downgrading your life. So essentially what this ad that I'm gonna show on the custom ad class today, it is something to the nature of downgrade your home, not your lifestyle. So there's a little bit of positivity to it. And so far we're finding people who have bigger homes that they want to sell, and then they want to move into a sideways move, not a downgrade, but certainly an upgrade downsize. And again, so far we've been running it for the better part of a week and a half with good results. So if you'd be interested in that, just go to your dashboard and look for book a class and register for my upcoming custom ad class, and I'll show you how to build it.
Are you saying that it's on the Facebook page where you can register?
No, you go onto your StreetText dashboard, and this is
Oh.
something our dev team and Troy and customer service and everybody have been working really diligently on. Is we have all of our classes and past webinars and mastermind replays. We have them all in a nice little easy to find section of your dashboard, right on the very front
Okay.
page. You'll see a bunch of icons. One will be book a class. Use that, and then again, if you want to register for my upcoming ad class, I'll show you how to build that one.
I also
Brandon
dropped,
just posted the Calendly link,
Yeah.
Logan.
I dropped the link in the chat box there for you all to find, but I was just going to share my page here with you so you can all quickly see where to find those resources. So as you scroll down, you'll see these helpful resources. StreetText Academy, obviously that's that getting started guide. StreetText Help Center, I don't know if you've gone in there lately, but this has been completely revamped. There's a ton of information in here. So definitely go through here now. And then book a class. This will take you to this page where you can see all these different classes available. So obviously the Mastermind, Ad Help and Performance Review, Facebook Lead Conversion 101 on Tuesdays with Marcus, leveraging automations with Ira on Thursdays, and then our custom ad workshop. And then obviously our demo if you ever need a refresher. So you can find that all on your dashboard now, super easy to find. So yeah.
So something I just want to kind of say as well, like this is something interesting I find in general, which is a lot of times people will say, hey, I want to like join StreetText or I want to become a part of this. But the first question we always want to ask is like, how ready are you to join StreetText? So one of the questions that you probably want to think to yourself is, have you got a few deals under your belt? Like, are you at a position where you're financially secure? Are you do you have the revenue that you need in your bank account to cover you to grow for the next 6 months? And you know, that's a really important starting place, because it allows you the time to make decisions really rationally and invest your time and energy and resources on the things that are really going to help you grow your business, versus feeling like you're falling into that trap where you then have to react or try to get like the next best thing. And because sometimes when we're really, really hungry and eager, it can come across like desperate, but it's not actually desperate. You just want to serve. And so, but when having the time, that breathing window really helps to remove that feeling. And so the fastest way to get there quickly is by just reaching out to your friends and family and sphere. You'll find a lot of business there. That said, I am constantly surprised by people all the time. Jennifer Salter was a really good example of someone I was surprised by. Some people come to StreetText and they aren't there and they just start crushing it. And I think part of it is like the mentality and the mindset that they have when they go into it. And so when I hear that people are already invested in coaching, that they're on the mastermind, that they're hungry and eager to learn, that they're finding other agents in their market that they are trying to get mentored by, that they're following, they're going to open houses with, they're just learning from, that is like your shortcut to accelerated success in real estate. You will learn so much. Like Matt Yesmanetsky, like he grew 15% in a market that was going down. And he shared that the big reason that he's done so well in real estate so quickly was because he found an agent who was crushing it, who was willing to mentor him in that time. So I think if we're hungry and we're open and willing to learn, and also if we really have like that abundance mentality and we're just so excited, we're gonna be really successful. But you wanna make sure that first and foremost, that you financially are in a position that you know that you are, your mind is clear to make the decisions that you need to moving forward. And I think that's true that's really our heart. And, you know, like the cool thing is that this community and everything here, we're not going away. We're going to be here 6 months from now. So if you need time to get there, you will have the time you need, and you will be here for you when you are ready for that. So I just want to kind of say that and just be clear on that too. Always looking and then reading between the lines, because some people are ready, because they're mentally ready and they're ready in every other way. And so they just like skyrocket really fast. And so just focus on those things and you'll do well. But yeah, I don't want to derail on this conversation, but yeah. back to.
You're actually not. To piggyback off that, one of the things nowadays, also remember this. I always say bowling on a budget. People run a team concept. You're sitting here by yourself. There's a couple of people in here that actually have teams. There is nothing wrong with finding somebody to say, hey, I want you to do something with me. Roll out the model, show it to them, show them what's in there. I would say half of something is something, half of nothing is nothing. So even if you turn around and had someone come in that you want to pair up and run with, I would rather turn around and have something that I'm working with. And at that point, remember, even half of something is the fact that you don't have to work on those. So there's still a return. And, you know, as you look at this being a long-term thing, this is a business. If you got to pair up with somebody, do it. The worst thing you can do is to do nothing at all.
Hey, can I kind of go off on a different tangent here? Something that Leon had brought up earlier. Coming into the holiday season now, obviously we're competing with a lot more advertisers on Facebook for space. And I know Leon starts to back off of his marketing through StreetText. Reaching out to you, StreetText guys, what's your opinion on that? Troy's laughing. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, I was like, Troy, unmute.
Now's the time to double down. So what you generate now is what's going to pay you in the new year, right? Leon always says, you know, that quite a bit, but so making sure that your pipeline is really full right now is going to pay off in the new year, building your database for those people, because a lot of people that are coming through right now are actually thinking about the new year. They're not ready today, but they're thinking, okay, in the new year, I'm going to sell. And what we've found in the past is, yeah, it'll cost you a little bit more to generate leads this time of year because you're competing for eyeballs, lots of retail, Black Friday, Christmas, all of that. But generally those people are a little bit more motivated. They're ignoring all of the other stuff that's distracting them. They're seeing your ad. They're thinking, yeah, I want to know what my property is worth because I'm thinking about an upcoming sale, right? So it's a little bit too like putting the brakes on and then hitting the gas again. And it's a very common thing in business is that if you just keep consistently building that database, then you don't have to come back and pick up, right? The people that are picking up leads and generating their database now are going to be the ones that are ahead. If you're the one that puts on the brakes, then you're going to have to play catch up later, right? So it's something we see time and time again. The ones that remain consistent through this season are the ones that really crush it in the new year.
And also the space is going to be less noisy for other real estate agents that are doing the same thing. Because, you know, Christmas comes, we know our spending is going to be up. We're not going to be making as much money. So not as many real estate agents are running ads. They're not out there. But think about it. I always say my wife and I, you know, busy with 4 kids. It's when we have holidays and we slow down that we start to dream about what our future might look like. So it's during those holidays when we're contemplating what our next step is. Like, we're having family over, we're seeing that they're moving, we're thinking about moving, we're in that emotional state where we're making a decision about the future. That's me and my wife do our best dreaming during our down times and our holiday times. So I think there's a window of opportunity to catch people where they're in that decision-making part of their brain, and other people have put their brakes on their marketing campaign. So it's going to be less noisy. There's going to be less real estate agents that they're going to be reaching out to. Because as Leon said, they go into a whole bunch of different channels. Well, some of those channels are shutting down their marketing because they're not making any money through the holiday season, and you're going to catch them in a sliver, a window. So it might be a higher cost to acquire that lead, but that lead, you're getting them into your funnel as opposed to them going into all the other funnels that have turned off for the holidays.
Yeah, that's so good. Darren Hardy talks about this, like in his brokerage when he was in real estate. Everybody was talking about how December, January was a slow season, and everybody was buckling down for the slow season. They were just kind of like taking their hands off of the gas, you know, the steering wheel, take the foot off the gas, and we're driving their business. And so he decided, what would happen if I treated it differently? What if I treated December, January, February like the busy season? And so he did. And his business, he ended up doing more business January, February, and December than he did like the whole other like months of the year, just because he treated it like the busy season. Because the truth is, there's somebody right now in your market who woke up this morning who's probably talking to their partner or their spouse or whoever else, and they're saying, I need to move. Who should I use as an agent? And you want them to pick you. And they're going to be waking up in December. They're going to be waking up in January. They're going to be waking up in November. Like everybody there's always somebody in the market today who's making the decision. And so there's always going to be the opportunity to find those people, and they need to find you at the end of the day, because you're going to serve them really well. So they actually do need to find you. And I feel that bottom of my heart. And the flip side of that is exactly what Troy was talking about. There's actually a way, I'll see if I can share. I'll try to draw this out if I can. How do you do? Okay, I'll use my hand. If you imagine a graph going up, that's your leads that you've generated over time. It's building, 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 building. But likewise, there's like a delayed graph, which is people who are ready 3 months from today after capturing, who are now ready. They're building too. But what happens is if you stop your advertising right now, those people that were ready, it kind of like, it just stops, and then it kind of goes down a little bit because what was building is no longer building. And so what you want to do in business is get really consistent so that graph is always going up. And so the number of people that need your business 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 8 months from now, 9 months from now is growing because your pipeline is constantly filling in the bucket. Because the reality is you can have the world's best January, February, March, April, May, June of your career. You can have that. You just want to make sure you're consistent with that growth of your pipeline. And there's another side too, and I think this is important, which is when we spend money, we're on top of things. I think that's true of anything. When we invest money in our advertisement, we're more on top of our follow-up. I see this a lot of times. People say, I just want to pause my ads because I want to work on my follow-up. Well, they end up like pausing their ads and then they forget about the follow-up. So sometimes it's better to just keep spending the money on the ads while we do a follow-up, because our brain is saying, this is important, this is important, this is important, this is important. And the outcome of a business is 15x ROI. So I would rather 15x ROI because I spent money, because I grew my business. And then my pipeline is constantly growing so that you're investing in that growth. So I think, and then the other thing as well on that note is, how many times have I seen people post like multiple deals being done November, December, January, February onto the StreetText community insider group all the time. So it's constantly happening. It's just be there and really just like, and ultimately it comes down to what kind of business do you want to create? And I think there's like almost a mentality, a mindset, which is if I'm working hard to grow my leads, that means I can't take time off. That's not true. You can scale yourself in your business really easily. You just need to put in the systems in place so you can do that. And then you can take time off. You can go on holiday and you know that nothing's getting dropped. No ball's getting dropped. Generally, that's just a good question, but it's really a big question, which is, what is your goals ultimately do you want to see realized? And then what is the strategy and then the tactics that you want to do that will get you to those goals ultimately at the end of the day?
I'd like to just quickly add, it's a lot about market share and visibility as well, right? I mean, I don't want to let my competitors have an opportunity to kind of creep themselves in. I look at market share much like a footprint in the sand, right? Once I've established my footprint, I'm pretty good there, right? Somebody else comes to try to put their foot on top of me and take over my footprint. They're not going to be able to, but as soon as I draw my toes out of the sand, somebody steps on my foot, now they can dig their toes in and they get a base, right? And I'll put it this way. I used to, I really wanted to go after one local part of, one neighborhood here locally. It was right above where I lived. It was called the Upper Mission here in Kelowna. And there was one agent, I won't mention his name because I'll still say his name in vain to this very day, but every sign, you know, every time I drive up that area, every third house was that individual. It was, I'll just say his name was Brent Pay. Great guy, really good agent, but it was Brent Pay, every single sign. So as I was going to my listing appointment, just this feeling of, Why aren't they calling Brent Pay? Why wouldn't they call this guy? He's clearly got a market share in this area. Well, fast forward a couple years, he kind of migrated to a slightly different area and he wasn't taking over the area as much. And my signs started showing up in that area and other people's signs started showing up in that area. And he was the upper mission guy. Granted, he's done very well in his career. He's still doing fantastic, but it was just that feeling of like he allowed the ball to slip. He allowed somebody else to come over and start taking over that market as well. And it's just it can happen so quickly. So once you've established that niche, that market share, whatever it is, don't let it up. So again, you're running these ads, you're doing all these things, you're generating interest, you're in front of people all the time. You go and you take off your ads for a couple months out of the year, what's going to happen? Other people are going to come, they're going to establish, their own footprint. They're going to come and take over yours. You're going to jump back in, beginning of the year, and you're just going to find it much more difficult to kind of penetrate and get back to exactly where you were. So consistency, I think, is key. And this was a good opportunity for me to kind of, disagree with Leon since he was, calling me out earlier. So, but again, that's my take. Everybody do their own thing. And at the same time, while we're saying this, it doesn't mean it's a license to burn money, right? Yes, lead costs might go up this time of year. It doesn't mean you just light your money on fire and throw it away. Absolutely not. You do need to monitor spend. You do need to kind of watch your budget a little bit. But as kind of we're hearing everywhere else, this is a good opportunity to find some really good leads and people, especially over the holidays. That's when I find a lot of people go, oh, nobody's going to be clicking on ads over Thanksgiving. Nobody's going to click on these during Christmas. Well, that's when family gets together. And I don't know about you, I love my family, but I spend a lot more time on my phone when I'm, at Christmas with my family oftentimes, just because it's so crazy and busy. Sometimes you just find yourself doing your own little thing. So it's a good opportunity. Again, family gets together. People are talking about real estate. They're talking about that new home. They're talking about things like that. So their mind's in the right area. So again, it's just a great opportunity in my view to run ads. So
I think as well, on that note, I would add to that, which is right now, there is actually kind of an exodus of advertising funds happening on Facebook. That is your opportunity right now. So typically what we see in the holidays is there's a lot of money getting poured into Facebook. It's happening, but not nearly to the same scale as last year, which means there's a really big opportunity to find ads that are getting even better cost per lead. So if you're noticing your lead costs going up right now and you're in a market, I would really highly recommend doing a split test and seeing if you can get it back down, because they are like literally, I'm hearing of some unbelievable results happening. And so I really think that this is a good time to find some really good low cost leads. The other thing is, on that note, I'm a big fan of competing against ourselves. Like I want to compete against me. I want to be the best version, like a version of me that's possible. And when I go, like when I'm training on cycling, I want to make sure I'm like the best version of me. Like if I'm, anything I'm doing, I want to compete against me. And so I love the competitive minds, like landscape. And I realize that's a big part of business. It's a reality of business. We are all in competition, but sometimes competition can almost also derail us because it takes us off of focus. Like I love that photo where you see Michael Phelps and he's swimming and he's so focused. And then his competitor is like looking at him. And it's like, well, who's winning the race right now? Michael Phelps is, because he knows where he's going. He's focused on where he's going. And so I think like stay focused on where you're going, and you're probably having a bigger impact in the marketplace than you realize, even as Logan is saying, because you're literally, your ads are out there everywhere. And so people are seeing it and know that your market share is expanding. So the most important thing is to figure out what is your cost for your advertising, what's your ROI on that spend that you're getting, what's the multiple, and anytime that you're in like a 4x multiple or higher, you are in like the heavens of multiples. And most real estate, like actual advertising, is going to be 10x multiples. So like you are really, really like it's really it just makes so much sense. It just makes so much sense. If you invest $1 and you get $10 back for every dollar you spend, who wouldn't do that? It just makes so much sense. But of course, you want to make sure, as I said earlier, that you have the bandwidth to sustain yourself as you grow for those few, first few months or 6 months of really getting in your hands in it and kind of getting your feet comfortable and, your balance when it comes to lead generating online. And learn from people like Jeff, learn from Leon, learn from everybody here, Wendy. And, there's so much that, there's so much really good advice that's constantly just poured out. in this community. And if you apply even just one thing you learn every week, your business will be, how many weeks are there in a year? 50 something X over what it was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I wrote down a quote yesterday when I was listening to a podcast that was, successful people just do the simple things better. And it's like, during this time where things, like, for some of you, they're not slowing down. That's awesome. But during this time when things start to slow down, just take an audit of what you're doing and strip away the complexity. Like, there are so many ideas that are poured into the insider group. There's so many ideas that your competition is doing. And that's where John was saying, like, you can get so hyper-focused on trying to mimic your competition that you forget this is about getting in front of people in your community and providing value. So, like, audit everything. Am I providing value, or am I just chasing this bucket of people that I keep filling, but I'm not actually pouring into that bucket that I'm filling? So, like, go through your automations. Like, I was talking with Emily the other day, and, you know, I said, map it all out on a piece of paper, like, actually walk through, like, when the lead comes in, this is the first thing that goes out to them. This is the next email that goes out to them. This is the timeline of it, and draw it all out and say, like, am I overkill in some areas? Am I missing gaps in some areas? Like, just simplify the process. So use the time to strip away some complexity. Complexity is something you layer, you don't do from the get-go. Like, when you've been in the business as long as Leon and Jeff and our veterans here and Wendy and all these things that you're doing, you've layered to the complexity. You didn't start with the complexity. So I think it's really important to not chase after every, like, shiny object, as we always talk about, and just do some simple things really well. I remember my adage for, I think that was my line for this year, was, I'm going to do less better. Like, do a little less, but do it a lot better. And I think you'll get a lot further and just simplifying the process.
Starts with staying hungry. I'm gonna say this. I always say that, we as realtors, we know everything, because we do. But I go in and I sign up in Facebook on some of these other groups, and education can come from anywhere. I go in these groups of new agents because the questions they asked are, I could say, unfiltered. They're not tarnished. They're new in the business. They don't have bad habits. We pick up habits that, a new agent, oh my God, yeah, I got to hold their hand, this and that. We talk ourselves out of more things than we talk ourselves into things. So when I sit there and say the only cost involved is your time, but the reward can be great. So I sign up in these new real estate agent groups, and at night I sit back in a quiet moment and I go look and see, what are they saying? What are they thinking? Because as real estate evolves, Jeff, me, Wendy's been in the business for a while, Janky, people have been around a while. I hate to say we get set in our ways, but you turn around and you have to always be willing to evolve. And no matter what you do, you have to learn. Closed mouth doesn't get fed. So I'll go see what the new agents are saying or thinking or asking, because sometimes it's not it's the question they ask that leads you to a different answer or a different mindset. So when people are wondering, oh God, what should I do? Go look and see what others are doing. And new agents ask questions that make other seasoned agents respond. And it's amazing the ideas or thoughts or things you'll come out of it with that will let you tweak what you're doing in a whole different way. And like I said, all it took was the cost of your time. And like I said, I do it late at night, because if I'm on there late at night when no one else is, I ain't got to talk to nobody. I go in and get what I want to do, get out of there, put a note in my phone, set the phone down, go to bed, call it a wrap. But this is where, when you say, rip off and duplicate, that's my research and development, whatever, because as they're asking questions about systems, you're like, never heard of that before. I've got a note in my iPhone that's probably got about 100 things that I've written down for things people have said. And I'll sit there, sometimes I'll go through it, I look at it, oh, wow, let me go look at this. Or it'll come up a year later and it's like, God, that sounds familiar. And you go look and they fine-tuned it. But stay hungry. That's the word, stay hungry. And like I said, the price of education is a matter of you just be willing to set the time aside to learn something. It's, I want to say it's that easy, because it is.
It is that easy. I think sometimes we can overcomplicate it, or we throw hurdles in front of ourselves that don't have to be there, or we play mental games. But it is that easy. Just like stay hungry, stay open, learn, and then do the things that you're learning. Like it's so success is like painted out. It is such an easy. Sometimes we will stretch the rungs of the ladder out a little bit too high because we set a goal that's just maybe a little bit too big. Bring it back, make sure you can reach it, and then oh, there's the next goal, then the next goal, the next goal, next goal, next goal, and like you're on the races. It is so easy.
One other thing also I want to say to add this, and then Wendy, I know it's on you. Take and pick up the damn phone. Everybody wants to hide behind email that 90% ain't gonna open. I get it with a text. If I text and I see blue, they got an iPhone, oh, I'm on, it's stalking. But sometimes it's like, oh my God, you called me. And you go, yeah, why wouldn't I? You're one of the 100 that didn't. You can't get a conversation going if you don't make a call. So make the damn call. Pick up, look at the information first. Maybe you got all these apps. I open my app on something, I look at the stuff. When I call them, I'm the expert. I made the call. 99 of you didn't. Leon's gonna write this up. Wendy's gonna write it up. Robert's gonna write it up. You made the call. Don't hide behind systems so much that you make yourself obsolete. That's the problem with a lot of realtors in this business. That's why they're gone in 3 years.
Yeah, so I like to make sure that I'm always staying in contact with my past clients. So if you look at, which I'll redo at the end of December about where my clients came from, most everybody is a past client, a referral, or repeat. So, I mean, it's just super important to do that. And I love it because I get to give, so this year I've always wanted to do a pumpkin pie giveaway. And I know there's a couple agents that do it with their people, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do it this year. I always talk about it. I never do it. Costco has like the biggest pumpkin pies for $5.99, right? So I went and got 100 and put them in my Jeep, and it was a shit show, let me tell you, because our freeways are, so things were falling, and we only actually lost one, which is still piled up in my refrigerator. We're gonna, put some whipped cream in it, mix it up. I don't know. But the cool thing is that I got my lender on board, and they have like espresso stuff. And so they're doing pumpkin spice lattes. And then they have a green screen room where they do their videos and stuff. So they allowed people to come in and do family portraits. And it was just so cool, because not only am I sending out 350 invitations, because I've been in business a while. So it helps to have, a big database, but I was, inviting them all
probably later than that this afternoon after 3.
Inviting them all through Facebook, and then also sending them messages through Messenger. I also was texting each one of them, sent videos in the morning to each one of them. So there was constant communication. And the cool thing is that even if they don't want to drive all the way across town to get a pumpkin pie, we actually had some conversations. You're reaching back out, you're talking to them, and and it just kind of keeps you in contact. So yes, I was I got 100 pies, and there was only 50 people that came out of 350. So lesson learned, probably not 100 next year, but it gave me a chance to go and take 50 pies to my neighbors. So, well, first I did all my clients in Henderson, so I knew where most of them live. So I just went and dropped pies off to them, because, across town for pumpkin pie, I get it. It's kind of ridiculous, but I was hoping it would work. But anyway, so I took a bunch of pies to them, and then I delivered the rest to my neighbors, and they're like, oh my God, that's that crazy Jeep girl that moved next door, and now she's bringing me a pumpkin pie. So it's kind of cool. And I definitely suggest you guys doing stuff like that once you have a big database. But I also like everybody that bought and sold a home through me, for the year. I make Christmas rugs, so like doormats, and I spray paint them. They're IKEA, they're $5. And I spray paint them all white. And then I put, like the Smiths, and then established 2021. I put all those on there, and then I spray paint it with red. I take it off, spray paint it with glitter, and do like some snowflakes and stuff too. They look really cool, but they're like $5. And so I deliver all those to the buyers, and then the sellers get like wine, and then I get little I went to Logandale to the pomegranate festival, and they make pomegranate jelly, and it's amazing, and like everybody loves this stuff. So I'm getting little gnomes to put on there for my sellers with some wine. So just don't forget about the people that you've worked with. Just because you closed the deal and made some money, like those are your golden tickets right there. Keep the love going, because if you break up with them as soon as you're done and don't want to reach out because you're afraid something's wrong with the house and they're going to complain. Nobody likes to make the call and say, hey, how's the house coming along? Because it's scary, because they're going to complain usually. But you got to do it, and you just got to stay in contact and connect them with the right people if they need it. And they'll love you for it, and they'll send you to all their friends and family. So that's my
timing of an event is good too, because some of my dudes do the pumpkin pie. I should say dudes. Some of my folks do pumpkin pies the actual week of Thanksgiving, because people are going to show up filling out that free pie for their dinner.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna do it closer to then, but I had to coordinate with all my agents and the lenders, and that was the only day. So anyway, so we ended up doing it that way. But
Hey, Wendy, there's a couple of agents in my office that do the same thing with great success. With their leftovers, they take their pies to a food bank and get some great PR out of it.
And I tried to do that too, and I probably should have looked into it a little bit better, but there was no way I could refrigerate 50 pies because my refrigerator is not that big, and nobody was open to accept anything till Monday. So I guess the next time, maybe having them come to the event or something to where they can take the extras. I definitely wanted to do that, or a shelter or something, I wanted to do that. And I was like frantically on the phone with 50 extra pies. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to hand deliver them to my Henderson clients and then feed them to my neighbors, because there's no way they would last through the weekend till Monday, and I didn't want them all to ruin. So, but yes, definitely. That was my first idea, but I guess I should have had that planned better.
That was such a good reminder as well. And way to execute on that, doing such a good job. Every time we do something new, it's a huge, you have 50 people. That's incredible. That's such a big win. So good job.
And they were happy. They were excited. They were like, this is so cool. Thank you. So, I mean, just getting all of that is cool.
That is so good. I'm like, well done. So I want to give Crystal a chance here to speak as well. So Crystal, don't ever feel sometimes we'll speak at the same time, but we do get everyone opportunity to share as long as you're persistent.
I feel like I'm pretty persistent. I just want to offer a couple suggestions to Wendy, because I did the 1 year a pie thing and it actually worked out really good. And what my strategy entailed is I had a little smart plan in my CRM. I emailed everybody who I wanted to send pie to. I basically told them pick apple or pumpkin. I sent them a little letter in the mail saying, hey, I'm doing a pie giveaway this year. I want your pick so I can give you the correct one, because I know not everybody likes pumpkin, not everybody likes apple. And I sent to them that, and if they didn't respond, I texted them and I said, hey, when's a good time to pop by with some pie? What kind would you prefer, apple or pumpkin? And then I waited and I bought them basically the day I delivered, grabbed what I needed, and I literally went on deliveries to people's houses and knocked on their door. It was 2017 when I did it. So pre-COVID. And I basically gave them their pie. I had one person who didn't pop in.
That's a lot though. That would be 350 people.
It would be, but if you have an amazing virtual assistant, you could task them to call all the people and text them and email them and see what people want. And then you have an appointment to go by and see their house.
Right. No, I don't have a problem with the virtual assistant. We did that really good. Everything worked out really good, but it's delivering 350 pies.
Well, you may have to hire some high school kids to go drop off some pie for you too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this cool idea. My girlfriend and I are dog sitting, and before Halloween, it was a few weeks before, some lady showed up in this vehicle, and all of a sudden hopped out of her vehicle, and I was sitting out on the patio, and she just says, "You've been challenged by Rob for a pumpkin carving contest." And I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, what's going on here?" And I brought in the pumpkin, and on it was the real estate agent, and he was challenging all his customers to a pumpkin carving contest to upload their photos into Facebook, and the winner received a $500 gift basket. And I thought of like wine and cheese and all that kind of stuff, but I thought that was such a cool idea of ways to stay engaged with your clients and just to have some fun.
Yeah, that is really cool. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Or like a Christmas decorating contest.
Yeah. So much potential.
And you could do it with like Christmas tree ornaments.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Then that way they get to also keep what they made for their family.
Even on the pie order thing though, you might not have 500 because if they're not RSVP and you get the number down to where you're actually delivering the amount, you don't have as much waste or wasted time.
Right. And the thing is I don't really want to send teenage boys out because I wanted to meet with them, take a selfie with them and their pie, tag them on Facebook, so like I wanted that.
There's another option.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to get crazy, you could basically put it on dry ice and have it as a box on their doorstep. Or you could get kind of crazy and also ask them to, oh God, what was it? There was an idea I had that involved doing a competition with like them doing a picture. So that way you know that they got it. Because what I used to do with some of my pop buys is I'd take a picture if they weren't home and I'd text it to them, hey, just want to make sure you know that this package is for me, not some rando,
Right. Yeah, well, I had labels on all of them. So it was just client appreciation, and it had Fairway Mortgage, LV Sweet Homes. Thank you for, your business, stuff like that. So yeah, I wouldn't have been something random, but yes. No, I definitely have a couple ideas for next year.
I don't know about everyone else, but my hunger factor, I just keep thinking about pies, and Ira's on the same thing, and Marcus and Steve, like we're all doing this like 75 challenge, 75 days where we've been eating no sugar.
Oh my God.
I'm on day 70.
Thanksgiving?
Oh, right through.
I need a cinnamon bun.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And
I would unfriend Marcus.
Halloween is a bitch.
It is torture. But just I'm like everything tasting so good now. Like I'll have like a tomato. I'm like, what is this? Is this like candy? It just tastes so sweet. But yeah, it's not it's definitely like right now I'm thinking pumpkin pie would be amazing.
I'm sorry, that was so mean.
I dreamt
I forgot you guys were doing that.
Sugared fruit leather the other night that I was eating it in my sleep. But like I haven't even had that since I was a kid, and I was eating it in my sleep. So it just goes to show how that subconscious drive for sugar is a real thing.
Yeah.
But as always, we love spending time with all of you. And take away something simple, do something out of this, like layer a process in. If you do something every week, you'd be surprised at where you would get at the end of a year. If you layer this so much, you get to the point where you don't even remember what you have going out there and you're working while you're sleeping. That's the advantage of leveraging that whole automation follow-up, is you get to work when you're sleeping, but actually sleep, have messages going out while you're sleeping and Facebook posts and all that. But excited to meet with you all week too. Remember, you have classes, go get them in your dashboard. They're all there. So we'll see you on those classes too to break down some of these concepts more. But have a good day, everybody. Rest of the day.
Yeah.
Have a great time.
Where's Marcus?
He's back
away this week.
He's what?
He'll
He's
be
away
back
this
next week.
He's away.
Are you sure he's not eating pumpkin pie and not telling you guys?
They locked him in his trailer and cut his internet.
Well, I think he's finished his 75 hard now, so maybe he's just completely like gone the opposite spectrum.
Probably.
And he's just not showing us on Facebook.
Just swimming in pumpkin pie.
You guys will be surprised after your 75 days of giving up sugar, and you'll eat something sweet and you'll be grossed out by it. You'll be like, no, I am not eating this crap.
Yeah. Well, mine's gonna be right in the middle of the Christmas holidays, so there'll be plenty of opportunity.
That's okay. You won't like it anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll
It's
be,
like
it'll all
coffee.
be good.
Going from a double to black, and now not going able to have sugar in my coffee at all. It's just like, nope.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody. Go have
Bye,
something
y'all.
good to eat.